That is an older picture of my grandfather, Travis Hudson. Obviously, I was named after him, and but he pastored the same church for over 60 years. Started that church, and the Lord used him in wonderful ways to plant over 20 other churches in the Dayton area here in Ohio. Just I can't tell you the thousands of souls that he led to the Lord. He was my pastor for 10 plus years, and but more than that, he's my papa, and I learned a lot of lessons from him. So I thought this week I would stop and look back and remember some lessons that my papa told me. The Bible says in Proverbs in chapter number 14, and the Bible says in, Proverbs 13, and in verse number 22, it says, "A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children." A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. You know, I don't think that is just referring to some sort of monetary inheritance. I believe that, and it's my goal to one day, if the Lord allows us, to leave an inheritance to my grandchildren. And not one of money. If it is, then I got some catching up to do. But rather, it is one of grace and spiritual lessons that are very, very important to learn. And so I want to share some of those this week that my grandfather taught me. The first one that I would share with you is this, that me and my grandpa always went fishing together all spring, summer, and fall. Most of the time it was on Tuesdays, and if I wasn't in school, I spent the night at his house on Monday nights quite often because we would go fishing on Tuesday. We'd spend the whole day going out, and we would, in his words, sack them up. My grandpa did not fish for fun; he fished for food, and so we took it very seriously. And we would go out, and we'd go fishing, and we hardly. I don't remember ever coming home without fish. He always caught fish. But we always had a great time. And but one other thing, if you knew my grandpa, he didn't like to spend money. He refused to spend money on bait. Sure, he could have went and bought a dozen night crawlers for, at that time, probably about $1.50. But why in the world should we spend money when we can go catch them ourselves? So Monday nights were made for catching our bait. And so we go out, and he taught me how to get on my hands and knees and crawl through the yard with a flashlight between my teeth and crawl very gently until I could find a night crawler. When I found that night crawler, that big old juicy worm, usually half of it was, you're lucky if the whole worm was sticking out of the ground. Usually half of it, its head was sticking out or such. And it'd be sitting there, and you had to learn. He taught me how to grab that thing quickly, but not pull too hard because you'd rip it in half. But just a firm grip and slowly pull that thing out of the ground. And then we throw it into our half-cut, we took a milk jug, cut it in half with some dirt and mulch in there. We throw it in there and go catch them. We'd catch 4 or 5 dozen night crawlers on Monday nights. But one of the lessons he always taught me was this. When he pulled up, I never forget it. One night we're out there on our hands and knees, and he pulls out this night crawler. When he does, he pulls that thing out and he hands it to me. He says, "Look at this thing." He said, "It's sick." I said, "It's sick? How do you know a worm is sick?" He said, "Because look at all the dirt stuck on it." And it was covered in dirt and had a lot of just dirt clumps on it. And he said, "You notice when you normally pick a worm out of the ground or even out of your bucket, the dirt doesn't stick to it. And it's just a slimy worm. But when a worm is sick," he said, "the dirt sticks to it." And then he stopped and he turned around and looked at me. He said, "Don't ever forget this." He said, "When you're spiritually not well, and you're not walking with God, and you're spiritually sick, the dirt sticks to you. The world sticks to you." He said, "A Christian that is healthy and spiritual, the world doesn't stick to him." He threw the worm to the side. He said, "Let's go." And we went on catching worms. But I never forgot that lesson. So I encourage you today to heed the words of my papa about night crawlers. If the world's sticking to you, there's something spiritually wrong with you. So I encourage you to do some inventory. Make sure the world doesn't stick to you. And I'll do the same today. Have a good day.